Age of Imprisonment brings us back to the moment when Zelda fell into the depths. What's different about this, or I guess what we know now, is that a shard of the Master Sword, the one that broke off and sliced Ganondorf actually, went back in time with Zelda, though oddly enough, it didn't come with Zelda. It managed to find its way into the depths where Kalamo, a Korok, looking for somewhere to put down his roots, finds it glowing in the distance. When he picks it up, he's drawn to a construct that takes the treasure from him and starts to form a Link-like appearance. Rauru was searching the forest after hearing a disturbance when Sonia finds him out in the woods, and the pair seconds later find Zelda, who wakes up much faster than she did in the memories shown in Tears of the Kingdom for some reason. As anyone would in this kind of situation, all involved are a bit confused on what's going on, but Sonia and Rauru are accepting and they ask Zelda to explain what happened. The three take a look about to see if Zelda is familiar with anything, and we learn what the shrine's purpose truly is. In Tears of the Kingdom, they seem to house light for no reason, but we find out it's to fight off the shades that plague the lands of Hyrule. Presumably by the time of Tears of the Kingdom, the shades have all been wiped out. Anyway, all involved are attacked by the shades when Zelda discovers, or rediscovers, her light powers and channels it into a Zonai blade to fight against the shades. While they themselves are not explained very much by Rauru or Sonia, an interesting thing to note is that they turn into Poes whenever defeated, and we also know that the shades are evil, but that's not interesting right now. We reach the peak of the Great Plateau when Zelda says the thing!
The imprisoning war.
After some time passes, we meet Zelda in the castle in her new outfit, and with her new lady-in-waiting, Lunalia, who adores Zelda for some reason. It's a little bit creepy, to be honest. Despite that, the leader of the Gorons, and many Gorons, arrive for a ceremony to honour the friendship and goodwill between Hyrule and the Gorons. Zelda and Sonia train together to make Zelda more ready in case of battle. Sometime later, Minoru invites Rauru and Zelda to travel to the depths on an investigation, which they accept, where they find mysterious constructs believed to be the work of previous Zonai, but also potentially their downfalls as well. Once they've returned to the castle, the Gerudo attack, sending swarms of Molduga towards them, while a strike team mounts an attack on Hyrule Castle. Rauru, Sonia, and Zelda stop this attack and Ardi's strike team is forced to retreat. However, when they do, Ganondorf's lieutenants prepare to cut them down. However, Kalamo the Korok and later known as the Mysterious Construct, bear witness to Ganondorf's betrayal. The two step in to help, and after saving them, Kalamo claims a broken spear as a reward. And after leaving, Ardi vows to take revenge on Ganondorf. Ganondorf pledges allegiance to Rauru, which he accepts, though Zelda cannot help but feel uneasy about it, and tries to explain her knowledge of the future, but she's told that she mustn't tell them what the future holds because it messes with everything. Sonia tries to explain Rauru's thinking anyway, and asks Zelda to support him should he ever falter. Now after this, we take a pretty big gap. About 6 months passed since Ganondorf pledged allegiance to Rauru, and while Minoru and Zelda continued to study the constructs found below the castle, Ganondorf's puppet, a Zelda lookalike, follows close behind, eventually finding itself activating one of the many constructs, which is then sent to destroy the rest before fleeing. Back at the castle, rumours of this Zelda lookalike spread about, leaving Zelda and Sonia to get to the bottom of them. While this investigation is ongoing, Rauru is out on a mission with Ganondorf, when he realises that Ganondorf hasn't actually been there at all. He's been at the castle, waiting to strike. As Rauru makes his way back, he encounters the construct taken over by Ganondorf's power, and while Rauru ultimately defeats him, well, not really defeat because he survives. Anyway, he's still too late to save Sonia. As such, Ganondorf seizes control of a secret stone and transforms himself into the Demon King, summoning hordes of monsters, leaving the two that remain no option but to flee. After meeting up with Minoru, they make their way to Tanagar Canyon, located in the Heba region. On their way, they encounter the Archfiend of Tempests, Grimgera, who blocks their path to the Tanagar Canyon. This leaves no option but to fight, endangering the people of Hyrule. The Construct and Kalamo are soaring in the skies above Hyrule when a scarlet-filled moon appears in the night sky, which also comes with the side effect of monsters emerging. After the Mysterious Construct defeats said monsters within the immediate area, it launches in to battle the Archfiend, as Zelda gets a strange feeling about it, but the moment doesn't last long as they are in an active war zone. Rauru and his people, after the Archfiend's retreat, make their way to Tanagar Canyon, taking refuge as it becomes their base of operations. This sequence of events marked the beginning of the Imprisoning War, a war that would almost be forgotten in years to come. Despite that, Kalamo and the Construct meet Rafika, the Rito Elder at the time, on the Tabantha frontier, where they fight off more monsters. After this, Kalamo reluctantly goes to Death Mountain with the Mysterious Construct, bringing a few Rito along with them, thanks to Rafika. Rauru and Zelda move towards Lanayru, home to the Zora, coming face to face with the Archfiend of Grime. Why they went all the way across the world to check in with the Zora and not the Rito right next to them is beyond me, but Sure. We learn that Princess Kia, who just lost her father to the construct, is leading her people to oppose the threat, and as defeat seems inevitable, Rauru and his troops arrive to aid. The Archfiend is defeated, and Kia becomes queen of the Zora and joins forces with Rauru and the rest of Hyrule to oppose the Demon King. The Construct and Kalamo make their way to Death Mountain, and when they arrive there, a behemoth lies in the crater of Death Mountain, not unlike the one from Tears of the Kingdom, and they take it down while the Gorons fight off hordes of monsters below. After defeating the monster, the hail of boulders ceases, and the monster forces in the immediate area are vanquished. Shortly after, Rauru and his army appear on the scene to help as a new surge of monsters plunges the Gorons into a dire predicament, even more dire than before. After fighting off the hordes of monsters, Rauru and Agreston join forces to fight the Demon King. Kalamo and the Construct move down to the Great Hyrule Forest to clear the monsters plaguing its land, before setting off almost immediately for the Gerudo Desert. Rauru, back at Tanagar Canyon, continues to struggle with the recent events and crisis his kingdom faces. Ganondorf's betrayal, even though he suspected it, was far greater than he could have ever imagined, and the harm brought upon his kingdom is the result of his failed judgment. But Zelda consolidates him, reminding him of Sonia, that is until they're interrupted by the news of monsters heading towards the Great Hyrule Forest. By the time Zelda makes it there, monsters and an Archfiend had settled down there. Thanks to Rafika, though, a battle plan was in the works to take down the opponents. After defeating the Archfiend, Zelda learns that a Korok's council was instrumental to their victory, and a message arrives from Rauru suggesting they head to the Gerudo Desert. This comes somewhat out of the blue to Zelda and the others, considering the relations with the Gerudo weren't great, especially since the Demon King's birth. We learn that one of Ardi's people went to Rauru pleading for help to drive back Ganondorf's army. Rauru expects that Ardi didn't ask for this help, and that the warrior went behind her back to get such information to him, so he decided to help by sending Zelda and the others, who just defeated the Archfiend, to the Gerudo Desert, which Rauru also rushed towards. Rauru and Zelda's forces reunite on the outskirts of the desert, and help Ardi and her fellow Gerudo to hold off the hordes of monsters. After defeating the enemies, Ardi assumes full leadership of the Gerudo and offers Rauru her people's aid. If you'll remember, the Construct also made his way to the desert, and he finally meets up with Zelda and Rauru. Zelda believes that he is safe, and notices that his core is actually a shard of the Master Sword, giving evidence to him being safe to them. Rauru, however, still holds his doubts, but with encouragement from Kalamo, Rauru and Zelda dubbed the mysterious construct as the Night Construct. They remained in the camp at a calm time, which came to a swift end when the gloom-clad construct descended from the sky. Rauru ordered a retreat, but the Night Construct, and subsequently Kalamo, confronted him and held him off while the others escaped. This was the first encounter between the two of them, but they managed to beat him, not destroy him, but they defeated him. Once they had arrived back at Tanagar Canyon, Rauru, seeing the power of Ganondorf and his army, came to the decision that he would entrust the leaders of each tribe with secret stones to make them his sages. With the help of these new sages and their secret stones, they are able to repel the monsters threatening the Tanagar Canyon. After this, Rauru realizes that he must confront the Demon King. Before confronting him, however, Agreston spots the Archfiend of Lava, and recalling the suffering his people endured by its hand, he finds himself unusually eager to fight. Once defeated, the group worries about the battle the Night Construct and Kalamo are enduring the depths. This was a plan set up by Rauru and the sages to give them an edge in the battle to come. The Night Construct and Kalamo at the time blast open a chasm in the Elma Knolls. With this mission completed, they move on to the next phase of launching a surprise raid on the monster strongholds in the depths. With the conflict won, Kalamo is quick to point out the damage done to the Night Construct over their past travels and journeys, but as he does, the others arrive, reuniting the team. Minoru shows Rauru and the others her research on the Night Construct and subsequently his gloomy twin, and assumes that this was indeed what brought about the fall of the Zonai, and notes how the two constructs are opposed beings, one controlled by the Master Sword and one by the current embodiment of evil. Later, as the victory over the monsters sets in, the bonds between the members of the Hyrulean army deepen. Simultaneously, Ganondorf imbues his construct with more gloom than ever before. With his new power, the Forbidden Construct razed the Great Hyrule Forest before vanishing, leaving the Archfiend of Sand behind. Though left confused, she attacks Rauru and his army when they arrive, but Rauru and his army defeat the Archfiend of Sand. With all four vanquished, Rauru resolves to take the battle to Hyrule Castle and retake his home from the Demon King. He delivers a speech to the army back at the Tanagar Canyon, and they hold a council to plan the assault. Agreston raises the issue of gloom surrounding the castle. However, Minoru raises the solution of using the legendary Stormwind Arc, using her power as the Sage of Spirit to pilot it. Unfortunately for them, as they move towards Hyrule Castle, Ganondorf was aware of his opponent's movements, and revived the 4 defeated archfiends to attack the armies of Hyrule. As the arc closes in on the castle, Rauru and his forces push through the swarms of monsters until they encounter the revitalized Archfiend of Tempests. Once they defeat the opposition once more, the champions are put on edge, but with so much at stake, they can't turn back now, and at long last, the castle comes into view. As the arc makes landfall on the plateau, the might of Hyrule's army advances on the castle, and despite the many horrors to wait, they charge forward into battle. As they battle through, their fatigue begins to catch up to them, and realizing they have little hope of winning against Ganondorf at the castle, they put their plan into action. I suppose I should probably explain what that plan was. The idea was to have the battle at Hyrule Castle, but if it became too much, they would retreat to a place brimming with sacred power, which would later become the caves below Hyrule Castle, the one that we know in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They make their way there, and Ganondorf, sensing victory is near, pursues them into the depths. Kalamo and the Night Construct remain on the surface to keep Ganondorf's army away, and buy enough time for the defeat of the Demon King. After dispersing the hordes of monsters, Kalamo and the Night Construct meet up, as the Archfiend lashes out with one last attack. Deep beneath Hyrule Field, however, Rauru, Zelda, Minoru, and the sages began their final battle against the Demon King. This area specifically is special as it amplifies Zelda and Rauru's powers over light, making them stronger in the upcoming battle. As the battle raged on, Rauru and his sages were unable to match Ganondorf's power, despite their best attempts. As defeat was inevitable at this point, Rauru decided to sacrifice himself to put the war at a standstill for as long as possible. Neither would wake again until the events of Tears of the Kingdom. Now, technically that's where the Imprisoning War ends, but there is one last loose end that needs to be tied up. Back on the surface, Kalamo tries getting the Night Construct back on its feet after the Archfiend's last attack, and as the Forbidden Construct closed in. He was eventually able to get on his feet, and the two, or I guess 3 thanks to Kalamo, clash in probably the best fight segment in the game, even though Kalamo is terrified of the thing. Nevertheless, after the battle has taken to the skies, the clash continued on the ground, where the Night Construct would too give his life at the same time as Rauru to defeat the Forbidden Construct. With the war at its end, Kalamo resolved to putting his roots by the side of the Night Construct, so they would remain by one another's side for the rest of time. With the Demon King imprisoned, peace returned to Hyrule, and Lunalia begins her work on the series of murals under what would become Hyrule Castle, to ensure the battle was never forgotten. But Zelda makes the choice to eat her Secret Stone to restore the Master Sword for Link's usage in the future. With all gone, Lunalia destroys her records of the Night Construct to protect the future kingdom from the dangers of such technology, and that's really the end of the war and Age of Imprisonment story. I think a lot of people hate on Tears of the Kingdom's memory system about the Imprisoning War, and while it isn't good, I did also thoroughly enjoy Hyrule Warriors portraying it. The reason I bring this up though is for almost 2 years people criticized the story, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are still issues, like how did the Shard of the Sword end up in the depths, especially since it should have been on the other side of the sealing chamber, compared to Zelda, but whatever. While it has its flaws, I really liked it, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, subscribe, please, I need more.